But then we can make jokes of the thing, but there's also nuance. You understand? So when you hear an echo of something else, it's similar to music. For example, like if you know Peter and the Wolf, like the famous symphony. So you have at the same time there'll be a happy thing, but then you hear like there's a motif just for the wolf. Here's a wolf. So you have Snow White, so you have a happy occasion, but you'll hear the music of the Wicked Witch. It's all there are nuances in the same moment. There's a happy moment with a little sad strain. It's the same thing happens with Krieg Sieve. So you can have with Krieg Sieve, you'll have one story, but then there's a little motif in the stanza here. So the Sieve will have like a little contrasting moment at the same time. That's why it's so important. I had a hard time with the Tanakh. Drove me crazy when I was younger. I couldn't understand it because it doesn't look Jewish. The Navi doesn't seem to tell a Jewish story. You don't find the Judaism that we know. You don't find in the Tanakh. It doesn't look like that. It looks like just like a history. It doesn't look like very few Jewish things in the Tanakh. You don't see it. You don't see the base medrash. You don't see this. Only through the medrash you see it. But when you read the Navi itself, it doesn't look like a Jewish story. You know what I mean? So I worked very hard, to the best of my ability to start to understand Navi. Navi shook me up, actually, when I was younger. It doesn't look Jewish.
Very hard.
Yeah.
Now a word from our sponsors. Year of Learning, friends and family of Arthur Ridholtz, Mordechai Yidel Ben Baruch Leib Cohen. Friends and family of Ziggy Bessler, Shalom Shraga Ben, friends of Marvin Weinstein, Mordechai Ozer Ben Yisrael Aaron, Sarah Alpert in memory of her husband, Harav Tzvi Lipa Ben Hillel, Bella and David Adler in memory of her father, Eliyahu Ben Yosef HaKohen, friends of Honey Chafetz, Chana Shoshana Bas Yosef. Friends of Jack Prince, Yaakov Yitzchak, Shmuel Dove, friends of Sandy David of Shlamis, Ben Bas Chaim Eliyahu, friends of Judy Cohn, Yehudis Liba Bas Moshe, friends of Annette Zafransky, Hannah Bas Ephraim Fischel, Gail and Leslie Kaplan in memory of their parents, Mishkas Prince Bas Yosef Chaim Bava, Hanan Ben Moshe Eliezer, Vachana, Peter Bas Shmuel Yitzchok Halevi, Tzipora, Yisur Ben Yoam Moshe Cohen, Vachana. Friends of Linda Katz, Hinda Bas Yehoshua. Lee and Harvey Greenberg in memory of their parents, Esther Bat Eliezer, Yaakov Yosef Ben Abraham, Sarah Rivka Bas Baruch Yehuda, Betzalel Ben Abraham Halevi. A month of learning by Ronald and Susan Podolsky in memory of his father, Tzvi Ben Pinchas. Charles Gelfenstein in memory of his mother, Dacia Gittel Bas Meir Halevi. Charles Gelfenstein in memory of his father, Meir Ben Yaakov. A week of learning by Michael and Sharon Glass in memory of her father, Yechiel Tzvi Ben. Excuse me, Yitzchak Tzvi Ben Yechiel Michal. Right. And Lala Bessler in memory of her mother, Reinhold Bas Yechiel. Today is the
not
14th?
No.
Today's the 14th. There is a day of learning sponsored by Elaine and Harold Rin in memory of her father, Avram Ben David. May all those who were remembered, holding Shabbat have an aliyah.
When I was little, there were two groups of people who were rejecting the Torah. There were the people who were like the Christians and the Karaites and all these people, and the Sadducees who they say, oh no, the written law that's holy, you understand? But the rabbis, they added everything. So you had and then you had the other people who, from the Enlightenment, they rejected the divinity of the Torah itself, you understand? But when I was little, I couldn't understand it because the people was, okay, they can accept the Chumash and the things, but the oral law shakes them up. The oral law makes sense. The Chumash makes no sense. The Chumash is endlessly self-contradictory. It's the opposite way. When I was younger, I said, if anything needs to be defended, it's the written law, not the oral law. What do you? The oral law you can you can reason it, you can understand it. It's nice to. Anyway, it's a hard problem.
Well, on a happy note,
yeah.
We heard the Shita of Admon, who lived during the time of the Beis HaMikdash.
Yeah.
but yet in my favorite Hanukkah song, it says, "Zechei Admon."
Yeah.
Forget what he said. Not to be taken literally.
Yeah, of course. All right, Rabbosai. So we're let me see. Where are we? I don't remember myself. Where are we? Yeah, thank you. Where are we?
Top of Kufman base,
Kuf.
Kufman base.
Right at the top, right. Okay, so here we are still in the this debate of whether you can give a gift to a fetus. And if you remember, we've already discussed a possibility that there's a difference between a gift and an inheritance, because an inheritance, since is an automatic transition, it could be that you could be of the same opinion, believe that you can't give a gift to a fetus, but that a fetus inherits. That could be debated. You understand? We had such a possibility because they're two different things. One is automatic, and one is has to be transferred by one person to another. Okay, we're going to continue that discussion, and we're still going to be juggling a bit this idea of even if you say that you can give an inheritance to a fetus, you still can't give a gift to a fetus.
You can't give a gift without the knowledge of the person you're gifting.
No, that's not so clear. That's not so clear because you have a rule called Zachan Adam Shelo B'Panav. You can always do things for people,
right?
Without but it has to be completely for their benefit. It can't be generally to their benefit. It has to be absolute. If there's any drawback, and you have no right, because what you're doing is you're stepping in. You're an audit. You become, so to speak, a self-evident agent. So it's not self-evident. Anytime there's a drawback, if there's any
So if someone
downside,
has to pay taxes on the gift, that's a drawback.
well, that's interesting. You know what? It's an interesting point. I don't, I have to think about it. It's very right. That could be here. That would be something that you'd have to consider. No, it's here. The person happy to receive the gift, he has to pay tax on it. Used to be they had to make a law in Israel to that nobody. They pretty much enforce it now. They made a law that you can't deposit money in somebody else's bank account. Why? Because years ago when I was younger, so a guy hated somebody. He hated the other guy. And he deposited. What did he do to hurt the guy? It was terrible. He deposited a large sum of money into his account and then called the income tax people. So they made, it was terrible. Yeah, it was wicked. It was wicked. So they made a law that nobody can could put money. Like, you think, what's the problem? You go to the bank. If you want to put money in somebody's account, they're not asking why. Yeah. Cash, yeah. But why are they asking you? Why do they care? What do they ask for ID? What do you care? I'm putting money in, I'm taking money out. The answer is okay because you might be hurting somebody by putting the money into
It's like the Kohen giving a Kohen an Evid.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? He doesn't want to feed us.
You don't want to feed him, exactly. That's another thing here. Do you want to feed the guy? So you're right. So I don't know. In this case, it's a good point to consider. But you have to always consider those if to say that you can automatically be self-empowered as an agent has to be that the function that you're performing on behalf of the recipient is absolutely up. Yeah, totally beneficial. Yeah,
Someone that can't read the words. It's not a favor.
Yeah, that's an interesting point. Exactly. Are you really giving the person an honor? Maybe you're going to embarrass the person.
You can say paying taxes for your benefit.
Yeah. So we get
Wow.
or yeah. On the other, but there's a thing here because even if you have something, if you can't cash the gift, for example, you're gonna have to come up with cash, to pay for the taxes. It's a problem. You can't. It's not like you could take if the gift was, let's say, a certain amount of money, so you just take off a percentage of money, pay the taxes. So that's all you could say. It's up. But let's say it's a gift. Somebody gave you a thing that's beneficial, but you can't. Let's say you can't cash it out and give part. Let's say whatever the story is, or you won't get the benefit of the object if you cash it out. Something I don't know. Anyway, interesting. Good points. So we're still in the middle of this discussion. So now we still remember. So we're at the very top of Kuf Mem Beis. The very, very top, the lema. And why is that? Because we're still debating. Remember, Rav Nachman said that he cannot justify our Mishnah. How did our Mishnah seem to say the person's giving a gift to a baby that wasn't born? The baby that's in the womb. So V'leimele, so look, let Rav Huna say what to Rav Nachman. He said, what do you mean? He said, you can say, listen, are you sure you can justify it? I'll show you a way to justify the Mishnah. Why? The Amar in the Mishnah, when a person was saying, listen, if it's a boy, give him this, if it's a girl, give him that, he's not saying give it to them now. When they're born, give it to them. Okay? And Rav Huna, according to his reason, number Rav Huna, because he says, lokana. Okay? If a person says what? even if a guy says, listen, if he says, look, when my wife will give birth, the kid is going to get it. Okay. So, but pardon me, I didn't read correctly. So the kasha is why didn't Ravuna say it? The answer Ravuna couldn't say because Ravuna believes that that not only can't you give a gift to a infant, a fetus, you can't even give it to even though the fetus is there, you can't give it to them when they're born. Now, there's a good reason. Remember before we said, listen, we talked about giving things that don't exist or giving two things that don't exist. But you could say, in a certain respect, that a fetus, even though you're right that the born fetus doesn't exist now, but the fetus actually, but the one that's going to be born does kind of exist now because he's here. Like we had a similar example, which I didn't want to get into with you yesterday. Like a guy says, look, when I'll convert to Judaism, I'm going to be married when I convert. Well, he's here now. You're right. The converted him isn't here now, but he is here now. You understand? That's why we have a big halachic problem with Gerim, because even though it's true, for example, it says Gershin is Gair Kakatan Shanola Dami. For example, when a Ger converts, he's like a newborn, so he has no relatives. He's not related. His mother isn't his mother legally. He's not allowed to. The rabbis say no, but his mother's not his mother. His son's not his son. You understand? But we never said, for example, that if you might be owed $100 to a non-Jew and he becomes Jewish, you're newborn, Mike, that's canceled. That's not true. That's not true. He is there. It is the same guy, but as far as Yuchsin, as far as his lineage, whatever, yeah, he is newborn. But so the same thing here. It's true in one respect. Look, the kid's not here, but he is here. You understand? So you could say that. But so he held, you can. Rav Nachman and did he had a mazak luber lokana. Rav Nachman had, look at this. It looks self-contradictory. He says, okay, lokana. Like a shetei lekana. Rav Nachman said, you're right. You can't give a gift to a fetus, but to give a gift now to give a gift to say when he's born, you can. Okay, because he is kind of here. Okay. Rav, not Rav. Look, I should tell look on. He says, I'm sorry. Even say what he's born, he doesn't mean what Rav. Sheshes said, but he holds both. He holds you can give. Not only can you give a gift, like to make all opinion that you give a gift to the fetus when it's born. He says you even give a fetus. He held you can give a gift. He's an amora. He can even give to a fetus. Now, what's been going on up until now? Amoraim have been arguing whether there's a Tanaic opinion. That's what's been going on all since yesterday. Is there any Tanaic opinion that you can give a gift to a fetus? Okay, now all of a sudden, shocking. We have all of a sudden Rav Sheshes tells me he believes he's an Amora. He says, I believe you can give a gift to a fetus. We were struggling. We for the last half a day.
What age is the fetus?
In the womb till before birth, baby before birth.
What do they say after?
That's it. Okay, that's no, not after. No. Fetus means in the womb.
Right, in the womb,
but
before birth.
Okay, so let's say at least by 40 days. Okay, once we can see the baby, we can see the belly of the woman.
After 40 days and before
at least I'm saying we have to check out. But Lamaisa, that for sure, everybody agrees that a baby's a baby by the time you can see it. Right. I said, okay, so now you have Sheshes is shocking. All of a sudden, it comes in an Amora. Says, listen, we couldn't find a tie. Says, I believe it. I believe you can give gifts to fetuses.
It's shocking because Rav Huna was the Talmud Chacham.
Yeah. What's going on over here? Okay, Rav Sheshes says, how do I know it? He says, come, I'll bring you a proof. Bingo! You can give a gift to a fetus. The Tanya, because we learn Ger Shemes. Now, this is a famous problem. Like I just told you, a convert, when he converts to Judaism, he loses his lineage. Okay, so his sons that he had when he was a guy are not his sons. His mother when he was a guy is not his mother. His sister's not his sister. In theory, he can marry, but we don't let. Okay, that's another story. Okay, but here, the guy dies. Now, if a ger dies without any children, as opposed to a Jew, what we said, there's no Jew in the world who doesn't have somebody to inherit them, because we're just kicking up. Remember, I told you, every time you go down, there's no sons. It kicks up to who? To the father, no father, then to the brothers, then to the grandfather. It keeps going up and then down to the heirs. That's the trick with all inheritance. So it's eventually going to get back to the Shvatim, and no Shevet is ever going to disappear. Eventually, the only problem you may have trouble finding it. Like, for example, I don't know who my grandfather's. I don't know anything about my grandfather's father or his siblings, etc. So I wouldn't be able to trace if an inheritance get kicked up. Let's say in theory, if an inheritance kicked up to my grandfather's father, I wouldn't have any idea to tell you theoretically who was.
So your cousins can inherit, your male cousins.
Yeah, but I have no idea who my father's father was. I know nothing about him. I don't know if he had brothers, sisters, what he did. I don't know anything. So I wouldn't know what those extended relatives are for it to come back down again. And I'm sure that that's true for very, 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 very many Jews today. When I came to Israel, which was earlier than now, so you had places where people there were kids who never saw a grandfather in little towns in Israel. Where if somebody's grandfather showed up, everybody would come to visit. Why? Because the kids had never seen a grandfather. People came from Europe. There were no grandfather. Those people lost everybody. They had no grandfather.
Holocaust.
They have to Holocaust. So a grandfather was was a big novelty. Who saw grandfathers? You understand? So it's very common. Yes, it's a very common thing today. Many Jews have no idea of their lineage. I'm blessed that I knew my grandparents. You understand? I knew my grandparents with a little work, and if I called my cousin, I could basically trace down, from them. But after that, I have no idea. I have no idea. Period. Don't know anything. Okay, so there's but anyway, but in theory, but by a ger can convert and there's no inherit, there's no don't go to, and his stuff is hefker. That's the rule. So when a ger who has no children dies, his stuff is hefker. Whoever grabs it, grabs it. You just whoever it's free for all. Grab it and it's yours. Now, but here's what we're going to talk about mistakes. There are two cases of mistakes. Listen to this. And he's going to prove from this text that you can give a gift to whom? To a fetus. Look at the case. He says, here's how I know that you can give a gift to a fetus. The Tanya, we learned in the Brisa, a ger shemes. Let's say a ger died with no children. What? And therefore what? His stuff is hefker. Ubizbezu Yisrael dechasab. And Jews went up, they plundered his possessions legally. Okay, they're allowed to. But vishabu okay. Later we're going to see what they actually had heard. They did hear that there's a possibility that his wife is pregnant and maybe he's going to have an heir, or that maybe actually already has a living son. They have to give it back. Okay, why? Because it belongs to the living son or to the fetus. If they gave it back, then they for sure they heard shabu shemes. Now they hear no, the son died. Or the baby that they thought got the inheritance was stillborn, okay, miscarried, okay. So then whoever went and grabbed it a second time, okay, kana, they acquire it because it really is hefker over Rishona. But anybody who wants to rely on the original taking that they did when they were in doubt and they took it and then they found that and then they gave it back and then they really did die. Whoever took it the first time but didn't take it again the second time, lo kana. He doesn't acquire it. I'm going to listen to you. He says, if you believe that a fetus cannot acquire, why did they have to take it a second time? The first time, forget about the ger case, the baby case. Here, so what? If they took it the first time while there was a fetus in the belly, and then they gave it back, why do they have to acquire it again? The truth is what a baby doesn't acquire. So if you see that they have to acquire it again when they hear the baby died, you hear that the fetus really did acquire it the first time. Okay, they already got it, so it must be. So they already did it. So for the fact that they have to acquire it a second time means that the first time they didn't acquire it. Why? Because there was a baby in the belly, and the baby acquired it. I proved my point. Yes. Well,
we heard he has a son when his wife was pregnant. Is this son from before?
No. A Jewish son. Yeah. After conversion, that's the whole point. He has an heir. It means he has an heir, or maybe he has an heir about to be born, So I'm about Jewish, yeah, for sure. Okay, now.
This was a convert.
Yes.
Before he converted, he had a child.
Yeah.
And her daughter.
They don't inherit him. That's my topic. For this purpose, that's what it means when we say that when a ger converts, it's like he's newborn. We mean as vis-a-vis what? His lineage. We need vis-a-vis family relations. Yeah. Well, that's brand new. Omar Abayis. So now Rav Sheshes brought a tremendous, powerful proof. You see that the baby inherits, and you have to acquire. So you see, so baby is inherit. So Omar Abayis says, so we already answered that. He said, we didn't prove your point. We're trying to prove that you can give a gift to a fetus. Amar Abaye Yerusha Shani. We already answered this before. What inheritance which pushes from one domain to another on its own, it's automatic. That's different. I admit to you, you have such an opinion. He says, but you still didn't prove your point. You didn't. We're trying to prove what that you can give a gift. The guy says, I can give a gift to that baby, right, to the fetus. Okay. The Rabba says another reason why Rav Sheshes is wrong, but it's for a different reason. He says where he disagrees. Shani Asim, it's different. And this is an incredible piece. The Rapurim Merapion Abiyadai Mekara. Since when they originally grabbed it, they had heard that he has a kid, or they had heard that there's a baby in the wife's belly. So what they were not serious when they acquired it. They weren't quite really when a person acquires, they have to do it with a full mind. They took it physically, but they weren't legally really acquiring with a whole heart. Why? Because they had in the back of their mind that maybe this belongs to whom? Maybe it belongs to
The baby.
the baby. Okay, and therefore what? Okay, and therefore they didn't do it. So, so now, and really what? So both of them are saying what? No, you can't give a gift to a baby. One, because that was inheritance. He says no. He says that's not even the point. It's not even an inheritance necessarily. You don't have to say the baby inherits. He says it's just that they themselves were weak in their resolve. The baby didn't inherit, wouldn't have inherited, but they wouldn't even inherit, and for sure not what, and for sure not receive a gift. But they were weak in their resolve of acquiring, so it had to be done again. My benign. What's in between these two reasons? Well, you see it. I just told you. Benign. The difference is like this. Both of these opinions, both Abai and Rava, both agree that what that you can't. That we have no proof that they can give a gift to a baby, and also they both agree. Even we can even say give a gift to a baby. The only thing is what he says. The difference is like this. What about a shemes? Okay, what happened? What when they heard that he died and they grabbed his stuff below mace? Okay, but he wasn't dead. They heard that the kid died. They grabbed the gear stuff. He has no inheritance. He had one kid. They heard that the kid died. They grabbed it. Below mace, he didn't really die. But then he did die. So now, according to what's the story over here? To Abaya, okay, why? Because since according to Abaya that a baby can inherit, so if they heard the baby, they heard they heard that the baby died. They grabbed it. It wasn't really dead. So then, according to Abaya, you're right that then their grabbing was no grabbing because since there was a baby alive, so the baby inherited it. Okay, and their grabbing was not a grabbing. But according to Rava, he never admitted even that a baby can even inherit. He just said what his idea was that there's a weakness in the resolve. Well, their resolve was strong. They thought the kid was dead, so the resolve was strong. So in that case, they wouldn't have to acquire a second time. Okay, it was already work, and this is a tremendous thing to understand how people acquire. Yes, yeah. Okay, Toshma, come. I'll bring you a proof. Okay, so now we're still in the argument. Can you give gifts to fetuses? Toshma tinuk ben yom echad nochel. This is incredible. This is a Mishnah Nida. A 1-day-old baby can inherit umanchil and take and the same day die and bequeath it to his brothers.
How does that work?
Yeah, the baby's born. He's 1 day old.
Right.
His father, well, in theory, then somebody dies. He receives the inheritance,
Right.
and he dies the same day and gives it to his his brothers. No, okay, or whoever. So you see what ben yom echad in who were low. But what's the example Mishnah gave? A 1-day-old baby. Said a 1-day-old baby could inherit the same, and then the same day die and give it over. He says, but it only said 1 day old. It didn't say a fetus. So you see clearly from by inference from the Mishnah that a fetus cannot inherit, and certainly he can't receive a gift. If an automatic he can't get it, certainly can't get something that comes by illegally, which I tried to mention before. Rav Sheshes says no. He says we have a big kasha of Sheshes. How can Rav Sheshes say that a baby can get a gift? A baby can't even get an inheritance. Okay, so the answer is Gemara says no. He says Rav Sheshes already answered. He said that Mishnah is not talking about a baby inheriting from the father. It's talking about a baby inheriting from the mother. Okay, in other words, what? The mother's going to die. Okay, it's the mother's alive, and he is inheriting from the mother, and then he is going to die, and then if he's able, and what's the chiddush? The chiddush is that when he dies, it goes to all of his brothers from his father, not just from the mother. Okay,
what he got from his mother, when he dies, it goes to all the brothers that he shares with the father. Now that, and so when it said, you're right there in that case, Dafka ben Yom Echad, it has to be that he was 1 day old. Okay, why? Okay, okay, but because what? Because the fetus does not inherit from the mother, as opposed to what? Before he's born. Okay, as opposed, but okay, why? Okay, my time, but what's the reason? Okay, who my inspiration? Because, but listen, this is incredible. Why doesn't a fetus inherit from the mother? Because if the mother dies when there's a fetus, so we have a rule: anytime a mother dies naturally, or most of the time when the mother dies naturally, the baby dies first. When somebody kills the mother, the baby doesn't necessarily die. In okay, so they kill the mother and we take the baby out. But
Natural
it was a natural death. Either all you could say, as far as we're concerned, practically, the baby always dies first. So since the baby always dies first, the baby didn't inherit the mother. So it wasn't saying that what no baby can inherit. It's saying what no baby can inherit a mother when she dies. So that's why it said when he's born, the baby, since the baby's inheriting the mother, and then on the same day he's going to die and give what he inherited from the mother to his brothers that he got from the father. That he shares with the father. It was half brothers, okay. But so that can only okay. That can only be about a baby that was born because he's getting it from the mother. He's getting it from the father. The baby could. Then he said no. The baby could inherit from the father, even in what, even in the womb. And really, what he didn't even say that the baby can't. He didn't say the baby can't inherit from the mother in the womb. The only thing, as far as we're concerned, since the mother died, with the baby, it was since the mother died. We don't say that. We assume that the baby was dead before the mother, so it never came to the baby, and then in order to go to the brothers. Okay, that's the point. The question is now he wants to get it from the mother and give it to the brothers. But what if the mother died first? Okay, then he would inherit it and give it and would give it to the brothers, even though what? Even though he was in the womb, like Rav Sheshes, so he didn't knock out Rav Sheshes. It's still quite possible that a baby can inherit in the womb, and you could argue though that even if a baby can inherit in the womb, a baby can also receive a gift. We don't differentiate between inheritance and gifts. The Maimra, okay, the who my inspiration. One second, are you telling me it's true? You think it's always true that when the mother dies, the baby always dies first? He says, well, we know, okay, so the mother died, and then the baby came out, and it flopped around 3 times. Amar Babra Avashi says, nice, that's nothing. So when the baby came out, everybody knows, we have it here in Century Village. When you try and trap the lizard, it drops its tail to fool you, and the tail keeps flopping around. So you're trying to catch the tail, and the lizard is free. And he said it's the same thing over here. It's just a convulsion that happens from the nerves, has nothing to do with life. The baby's dead, just like the tail of the lizard is already dead. You understand? Just convulsing. So too is the baby that came out of the mother who died first. Came out of when the mother died naturally. The baby's already dead. It's just convulsing. It's not alive.
During the French Revolution, when they beheaded people, they found that the head was still moving and talking after.
Look what happened. They cut off when you shech the chicken. The body will run around. Cut the chicken's head off. The body will run around. Yeah, the body will run around. Yeah.
Chicken without a head.
Chicken without a head. Exactly. What is okay? That's the story.
Which one?
Yeah,
The head
chicken.
talks, you said also?
They have twitches. Things happen. Yeah.
No, not talks. I want to know what it would say.
I know it. I know a joke, but I'm not going to tell it.
Okay.
Chicken's looking for its head.
No, but it won't be funny to you because back in the old days there was a song. I don't think anybody here was old enough, but there was a song called "I Ain't Got Nobody." So they'd say what the chicken says, "I ain't got nobody." They would sing the song.
Yeah.
But before our time. Okay. Marb, how do I know those stories? Because
Your father told
no, because when I was little, we had books from the time of the people, my grandparents, these Al Jolson and all these people. So I would read those books and know about things that happened in my grandparents' time. So that's it, in the great grandparents' time. That's how I knew about all those old old American Jews. Yes.
Sorry, I accused your father of speaking anything.
No,
but
no, no,
Torah.
no, no. That was if he told me, I would have told you it was my father. But the truth is, I read it in the book. I've been happy to tell you what my father told me, but I read it in the book. We were big readers. Being quiet was encouraged in my house when I was growing up. Yes, and we did a lot of reading.
There was no TV, that's why.
That helps. Okay, Rabosai. Lemaimra. Okay, so we explain it. Okay, Margaret of Yosef Mishmei the Rav Amar. He says no. He says I'll tell you another point. He says about that point. The truth is now it could be that that the mother died and the baby really did die afterwards, and the kid really did inherit, and is able to give it over to the father. So why did it say 1 day old? Lomar shemamait bechelik bechora. Again, but you don't have to knock out Rav Sheshes. Why? Because it's coming to say what? Now this is an interesting point. It's coming to say what? That there's a difference, even though a baby can inherit in the womb, you could say, according to Rav Sheshes, but a baby cannot be involved in the arithmetic of how much the firstborn gets. Remember, a firstborn. How do we give a double portion of the firstborn? However many brothers there are, we add one brother, and say that's how many parts there are, and they give 2 of those parts to the firstborn. So, for example, if there are 2 brothers, we make believe that there are 3 parts. Okay, so 3 parts, and the firstborn gets 2/3 of the inheritance, and the other brother gets 1/3. Let's say that there are 3 brothers. We make believe that there are 4 parts. Okay, and the
Oldest gets
kid is gonna get what? Is gonna get 2. Yeah, he's going to get 2/4, say half. And the other 2 will divide. The other 3 will divide the rest. If the answer come out. So now, if I said correctly, I hope if I said the arithmetic wrong, you'll fix it. So now the point is like this: at what point? So that it could be that the baby is considered an inheritor in the womb, but not a brother, because remember, because it talks about the father has to recognize the firstborn, and he's not there to recognize, etc., etc. So because he hasn't been born yet. So the womb baby can get a part of the inheritance, but won't be involved in the arithmetic of what of Pishnayim. You'll have to figure that without the baby. He says that's the point. So really, what again? We're just defending Rav Sheshes. What's the reason why the Mishnah didn't say 1 day old because a fetus can't inherit? It meant to say what 1 day old he'll be completely involved in all the rules and decide how many parts the firstborn gets and how much everybody gets, etc. As opposed to a baby that was born before. Okay, my time. Okay. Knows what the bechara what the meaning to say dafka ben yom echad. Only once the baby is in this world, he's actually lived in the world. He's in 1 day. He's in the world in that one. He's just born. Once he's been born, so that he can be involved in the arithmetic of how many parts the firstborn gets. Uber low, but a fetus, no. My time. What's the reason? So that's why it didn't say, because the fetus can inherit, but the fetus will not decide how many parts the firstborn gets. He won't be involved in the arithmetic. Okay. My time. What's the reason? Well, Yodulo. Okay, because it says the guy's going to have babies. They'll be born to him, and he has to recognize the firstborn. Rachmana. Okay, it says what? It has to be born. Okay, I mean, so they were, and then he has to recognize first. So they have to be born. Okay, a son who's born after the father died, for example, he cannot lessen. He's not involved in the arithmetic to make the double part of the firstborn smaller by being one more brother. My time. What's the reason? The Yoldulo. Okay, that's what we want. That the born to him one has to be born. These babies are born, and then he recognized the firstborn. But this kid wasn't born. Besura masnache. Besura they learned it like that. Okay. But Padisa masnache. But Padisa they learned a different law entirely. Okay, a different law entirely. Amar Mar Braid Rav Yosef Mishmei the Rava. The Bechor was born after the father died. Okay. Now how can that be? Okay, for example, there were twins. They were born twins. If he's the first, how can he be the firstborn? If he's the firstborn is 1, what 2? The answer is twins were born after the father died. And he was the first one born. Or, for example, the father left 2 pregnant wives, and one of them gave first for the first child of the father. One gave birth first. Okay, he had a bechor. Okay, Eno noto pishnaim. Any bechor who's born afterwards does not get double. My time, what's the reason? Yakir, because it's the father. If I preempted, before we learned on what is born. About Yakir, he has to recognize them. I'm Rahmana. So what? Oh, let the Yakir. You let the Yakir, even though they're born, since the father's not here, it's Yakir. So we learn two different things. One, the baby has to be born to be involved in the firstborn. Another thing, what? To be a firstborn, the father has to be alive, and the kid is born for the kid to be a firstborn. Why? Because the father has to be there to recognize it. The father's not there; he didn't recognize it. I preempted before. Okay. The truth is that what in all three of these laws, the following is the halacha. All these three laws. What is that? One, okay, that a 1 day old is involved in the arithmetic of how much the bechor gets, and the fetus is not. That's the second law. And the third law is also that if the firstborn is born after the father died, he doesn't take a double portion. That's why, because the father never recognized it. We're coming down to the fight here. He said, listen, if a guy tries to give something to an ubar, he does not acquire. The Torah Mishnah say no. And if they ask me, "Kash, what do you mean?" Our Mishnah said the guy says, he says, I'm giving the baby. When the baby my wife is pregnant with, I'm going to give him 200 or 100. He says, don't worry. He says, that's a very incredible reason. He says, Hoel. He says, here's why. He says, you don't understand. He says, here, since it's his son, the resolve of the father to give over to the kid is so strong, it goes over. So yes, a father to his son can give over to a fetus, but you can't give over to a different fetus. His own, if the fetus is his own kid, he can give him a gift. Okay, but in general he can't. So now what's the halacha? But I said it's the halacha. Can you give a gift to a fetus? No, unless the fetus is your own kid. The fetus is your own kid. Fathers are so intent that works, even though he overrides. Okay, that's one. Shmuel said to Rav Chana of Baghdad, he says, he says, bring me 10 people together. I'm going to say in front of you, I hold the halacha is what? If a person gives a gift to a fetus, he acquires. What is the halacha? Says the Gemara. If a person gives a gift to a fetus, he does not acquire it. Okay. But when is that? He meant to say what? Only when what? When it's not his fetus. But if it's fetus, then what? That he does acquire. A person said to his wife, he says, my inheritance goes to the sons that are going to be born from you. So he had a grown son from a previous wife. And the old son, he says, who governed my tailor? What's going to be with that guy? Meaning himself. What's going to be with this guy? What's going to be with me? You cut me out of the inheritance? Okay. So the father said to him, no, he says, you go and acquire like one of those sons that I just gave it to that are unborn. So now what's the law? He said, you acquire like those.